there are endless ways that you can create value with lead magnets that do not require you giving away your product for free. So these interactive lead magnets, an ROI calculator, a self-assessment, some sort of scorecard, a benchmark are all good ways to deliver value before you ask for anything. Marketing is difficult because it is part art and part science. The earlier you are in this stage of growing your business, the more art it is than science. Who exactly is this message going to go to? What exact problem do we think is going to resonate with them? And then what are the expected results from these channels? So what we want to do is have a very clear hypothesis that covers those three sections. And we want to just be learning and iterating. We want a very tight loop of continuing to iterate on these things. One, lead with a real problem that you didn't invent. This is the biggest mistake people make when they try to go from solution first positioning to problem first, is they're like, well, what fits within this AI powered lead generator, blah, 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 blah. And then they invent some problem. You are not going to get buy-in on your solution until people agree that they have the problem that you are trying to solve. Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is the former head of growth at B2B. He has been in the B2B SaaS space for over a decade, helping early stage teams gain traction. He's done the 0 to 1 game twice, once as the first employee. He's previously held roles as BDR, AE, director of sales, director of marketing prior to leading growth at B2B. In July, he soft launched his new consultancy/agency business called MarketWork, and will be officially hard launching on the show here today. Today's guest is your co-host here on Unfuck My Startup. It is me, Pete Crowley. And I've never been a guest here on this show. I'm excited to have something to sort of show you guys and present and show you what I've been working on. Yeah, thanks. I like the hype up in the chat. So a little background. As I said, I've been working with B2B SaaS teams for a while. I've done 0 to 1 in-house a couple of times. And then at B2B, we were talking to a ton of different folks, specifically early stage marketing teams, because that's who the customer is. We then launched a community, an online community, which has since kind of been halted, if you will. But that gave us the opportunity to talk to even more founders who are just trying to grow, trying to gain traction. The interesting thing, and this is not unique to marketing, but as you see and talk to enough people who are trying to solve similar problems, albeit in different spaces and for different people, you start to see a lot of patterns. And you start to see a lot of patterns of what isn't working for people. And it's been an amazing contrast with the opportunity of co-hosting this show right here, because every week we get to have on people who have found incredible success across different domains. Some people have had billion-dollar exits. Others have bootstrapped their way to incredible cash flowing businesses. And like I said, you see a lot of patterns between what works and doesn't work. So what I'm going to do today, I have a whole deck of slides ready to show you guys, show you what I've been working on and sort of the hypothesis behind this new business of mine. So I launched this thing in July, MarketWork. I should probably just start sharing my screen now. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the hypothesis is that one, early stage growth is really freaking hard. I always say that the playbook that will work for you is the one that you write yourself. Okay. So my philosophy behind everything here at MarketWork is to help you write the playbook that's going to work for you. So I got a little website up and stuff. We're still rolling, but I've been working with about 7 clients since July. I didn't start with 7, but it's about where I'm at right now. B2B being one of them to produce this show, which has been great. And I have been working with early stage B2B software and services companies. Okay. So let me share my screen. So this, folks, is part a thesis and part something I'm putting into action right now. Market work is a hybrid between a consultancy and an agency. We're still figuring out exactly what that looks like. I'm also working on something interesting called the Market Lab. If we get to it, I can show you kind of what's under the hood there. But let's kind of dive in here. So market work, as I said, soft launch in July, hard launching today, right now on the show. Make your marketing work, right? Pretty self-explanatory. And the goal here is to build growth infrastructure that replaces founder-led grit with the predictable B2B engine. I'm sure a lot of people understand the founder-led grit. Someone said, "Who is we?" That's a great point, Connie. I should just say me. Right now, it's just me with some subcontractor people. But yeah, market work is me right now. So if you want to work with market work, you're working with me. And if you don't want to work with me, market work might not be for you. But here's the backstory, folks. So in July, I left our B2B full time. And I had this idea for a while of a consultancy sort of agency where I could help more teams than just one as an in-house person to solve some of these problems because they are very large, difficult to solve, unclear. There's a lot of challenges with starting a new business. So before we dive into the specifics, who exactly is this for? As I said before, early stage B2B software and services companies. So you'll see on the screen, B2B SaaS founders, pre-Series B. So early enough, once you get to a certain stage, you've probably solved a good chunk of these problems. And I'm probably just not the right guy for you, which is okay. I'm not trying to be everything for everyone. You'll see my thoughts on that in just a minute. Service firms with inconsistent pipeline. Services, B2B services and B2B software have a lot of similarities and challenges when it comes to B2B or just like getting traction, sales, marketing, all of that stuff. Also a great fit for teams stuck in founder-led growth. So I have clients who it's really the founder just, there's other people helping with the operations, but when it comes to doing the sales calls, launching ads, figuring out the right marketing experiments, all the positioning, the messaging, all of those efforts are on the founder. And that's so challenging because founders have a lot to do, like a lot to do. You're doing admin work, you're doing everything, right? And finally, great fit for people who are, dealing with scattered channels and no real compounding system of marketing. You feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall because most likely you are. And that's okay. That's actually what you have to do at this stage. Not the right fit for super early stage hobby projects, teams unwilling to commit to focus. So if you're really gung ho on doing what you're doing, but just doing it a little differently, I can't say this would be the best fit, but we can have a conversation. And people looking for one-off tactics, plug and play playbooks. The reason I don't do that is because I don't believe it works. I believe the playbook that'll work is the one you have to write yourself. The playbook you write yourself typically is going to be a combination of a bunch of different tactics that have maybe worked for other people, but you still have to contextualize them in your own way. Could bootstrapped early stage SaaS be a fit too? 100%. Felipe, that's like my favorite group of people, like the bootstrapped early stage SaaS. I love early stage services too. But bootstrap, because if we're bootstrappers, we can do whatever the heck we want. We can focus down on things. We can focus on making a really great cash flowing business and not trying to deliver a outsized return for a group of investors. So I specifically love working with bootstrapped early stage SaaS. All right. So here is the problem, folks. Most teams do not have a channel problem. They have a system problem. Okay. So they'll have some leads come in. Sometimes the fit won't be great. Maybe they'll have content or ads, they'll get engagement, but these things won't generate pipeline. So maybe you're running ads and you're getting clicks, but you're not getting meetings. You're not getting free signups, whatever it is, the thing that you are angling towards. Yeah. So, and basically, I think to sum up the problem is like wins are hard to repeat. if you're in that stage where you're putting together spreadsheets of all the customers that are currently in, or people that you've done demos with, and you're trying to draw correlation between them, but you can't seem to get those wins to repeat. That is a very, very common problem. More people who are early stage software and services B2B companies are dealing with that problem than not. Okay. So I want to hit you with like a little kind of philosophy I have here. There's two. One I actually should have covered in the a slide before, but I just want to say that like we see a lot of these scattered systems. We see a lot of people going after tons of different channels. My sort of philosophy after talking to a bunch of people and living and breathing this is that founders are ambitious people, and ambitious people tend to get ahead of themselves. Okay. So oftentimes when you talk to them or look under the hood, there are all of these different projects and hypotheses and things to test and things to build. And that is simply almost like a side effect of ambition. So if you are in that boat where you feel like you're scattered, you're in the boat of just about everyone else. And that's probably the thing that made you be a founder in the first place. So that's okay. So a huge and this is why I work specifically with B2B software and services companies. Partly it's because of my experience. That's who I've worked with before. But two, there's a very unique problem that fits kind of and is super common for B2B software and services. And the problem is that B2B software and services are harder to position than physical products. Excuse me. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. Before we hopped on the show, a couple of us were talking about fidget toys. I can look at this on an online cart and know what it is. I can look at this water bottle and know that it's big. It's probably insulated. It has a straw. It's got a handle. It's going to fit in the cup holder of my car. All of these benefits, I don't need to be explained, why they're beneficial or why I need them. I can literally look at a picture and understand that. That is not the case with B2B software and services. So software, it's intangible, right? There's no physical like unboxing moment, right? It's really a long form onboarding process. Another challenge is that value differs for every stakeholder. So your CEO and your marketing director and maybe your ops director or customer success, whoever it might be, are usually all going to find slightly different pieces of value within your service or your software. Okay, so that's really challenging. Now you have to message and position yourself to all of these different problems and figure out kind of what to lean on, knowing that different people are going to experience different levels of value. And number three, this is like I think one of the most important is that value comes after onboarding, right? So the promise, right, the company's promise of how they're going to help you always has to come before the customer or the prospect gets proof that they're going to realize that value. And that's a daunting thing, right? So there's, I'm sure there's a ton of people on this call who have been on sales calls, whether you're a founder or a salesperson or a marketer, to sell something, and you get hit with all of these objections. And a lot of them are usually related around risk, right? Someone either not, overpaying for something they're not really going to use. Maybe they have onboarding like concern about getting their team up and running, getting organizational buy-in. There's a lot of different, risk that can come into play. I've even worked at places where our product posed the risk, they thought the perceived risk, I'll say, because there really wasn't an actual risk of this, a perceived risk of job security. To give you a little more context, it was a company called Ship Science, still around. Ship Science is a great business. I worked there for about 5.5 years, and we had this big issue where the operations directors would be threatened by the product. The product was basically a dashboard and system that helped e-commerce businesses save money on shipping. And there was this perception of like, oh, shoot, like that's actually my job. Me, the operations director, I should have been doing this all along. This is going to expose where maybe I haven't been doing my job right, which isn't true. But they felt it, and that's perception is reality, right? It's kind of consumer behavior 101. And so it was really our job to, in that sales process, to really talk them up and like, coach them through that job security. So all of that to say, this perceived risk is a huge part of the end of that sales process, and usually that long line of objections that we'll get. Okay, so just diving in a little bit more to that stakeholder complexity, right? We basically have to identify multiple wins, right? The different wins for each of the people in the organization. Your product sits at the center of these wins, right? But the wins might be a little different for each persona. So, you have your end user, right? The people who are actually using the product the most once the team gets onboarded. You have your manager, your exec, maybe you have finance and IT. Finance and IT is, IT especially when it comes to onboarding software companies. That is a big question mark they have hanging over their heads, right? What is the setup time? How is this actually going to interact with my systems? Are there going to be threats to my system? There's just a world of questions that open up once we touch that topic. Also, I want to just kind of draw a line too between, we have our economic buyers. Maybe this is an executive, maybe this is a manager, but many times that's actually different from the end user. So again, like multiple wins, multiple kind of positions we need to have when we go along selling. Oh yeah, Mohammed just said AI is replacing everyone these days. Yeah, that's job. That's a tool being perceived as a job threat right there. So I'm glad you dropped that in. Adam, what's up, man?
Hey, yeah, wasn't in my calendar, completely misjudged the amount of time I had going on my lunch run. I'm
You're
sorry.
good, man. We're ripping. We're ripping.
Yeah.
How was your lunch run?
It was pretty good. It's about to snow here. It hasn't snowed in a while.
I did a powder day with you on Friday.
I know. Well, that's true.
God.
It snowed. Yeah. Well, anyway, the lunch runs were great, man. I just wish that I would have been here at the beginning of
That's
this.
good.
I apologize to the crowd. What did I miss?
You're good, man. Hey, we're cruising right along here. So thanks for joining. So I think that comment about the snow though is going to make us front range folks a little sour. I'm going to be honest. We haven't had snow in, I don't know, a month, 2 months. Someone, Ryan, how long have we had snow? We not had snow. Ryan's over in Lakeside. But yeah, hey, that's great. I got to meet up with Adam in Aspen on Friday. I was there for a music festival with some friends, and he's living the life, folks. The hype is real. The hype is real. Okay. So let's kind of keep diving through this, folks. So we're talking a lot about positioning. We're talking about the challenge with selling B2B software and services, the fact that you need multiple stakeholders, the fact that it's intangible, you can't touch it. And you're not going to realize value until after you've probably paid for the thing. And for some softwares, that's like a multi-year agreement. It's a big ask, right? So positioning is incredibly important. It is like, you can have two products who like are basically on par with each other from a pitch standpoint, a value, in terms of like tangibly what that software or service is. And one could actually be a little bit worse, but if it positions itself better, that one's going to win. And it happens all the time, which is crazy. So this is the trap. This is how people kind of mess up positioning very often. This is the most common trap I see. The common trap is you lead with your solution, not the problem. And when you lead with your solution, you kind of like just lose the room a little bit. So I have two examples on the screen. I have a solution first positioning statement and a problem first positioning statement. Okay, so our solution first one is our AI-powered platform leverages machine learning to deliver real-time insights across your entire workflow, right? Super generic. It's intentionally generic, so like bear with me. I'm trying to prove a point here. And the problem first position is much different. And remember, we're selling the same thing here. So the problem first position would be your sales team spends 5 hours a week on manual data entry. We cut that to 0. Okay. It's specific. It's measurable. We're throwing in a number there. And you can kind of feel it, right? when I think of positioning or poorly positioned products, I think I've shown this on the show before, but I think back to that clip, that scene in Silicon Valley. If anyone's ever seen the show Silicon Valley, where they're at Y Combinator and everyone's pitching these, basically just these. It's essentially like 10 people in a row saying our AI powered platform leverages blah, blah, blah. And we're changing the world to deliver real time insights across your, like, it's all nonsense. And I think of that so often. And it's clearly like just parodying the, positioning nonsense that exists across this world. And so this is not something I stumbled across, but it's something that I really take to heart and just think it is the one of the most important things when it comes to building a business, aside from probably your product. Okay, so what's the solution then? Right? There's all these problems with starting, with positioning, with channel selection, delivering value. There's just like a slew of problems. So the solution is not to think about running marketing, right? We don't want to just run this channel, then that channel, then that channel. We want a growth infrastructure, right? We want all of these things to work together. We want our marketing to be the wind in the sails, and the sails are the channels. But our position, everything is the wind that goes into it. So different things we do: positioning and messaging, content engine. We do demand capture through paid, all sorts of things, and then we put in a measurement and feedback loop. So it's really a matter of buckling down and focusing on just a few things. I'll show you in just a second what I believe those few things are from a channel perspective. One of the most important things, I think, when it comes to like positioning, messaging, or anything when it comes to marketing, whether you're sending out emails, you're showing ads, you're writing on LinkedIn, however you're going about it, positioning is all about subtraction, right? We want to sell a specific thing. We want to have a specific person who we're articulating a very specific problem to, and we're giving them a very specific promise. Okay. If we are vague, all of our learning is going to become extremely expensive. But when we're clear, that's where sort of the compounding mechanism comes into play. I'll talk about channels in a second. I know there's questions, I'm sure. Okay. When it comes to this sort of problem statement, right? Our top of funnel is our kind of awareness stage, right? People don't know about us. They're finding out about us somehow. And what is the best way to stop their scroll to actually make them intrigued in the thing that we have to sell them? Assuming that they are the right person that would buy. I always say this stage should feel like a mirror. Okay. So this is where the problem specific positioning comes into play, right? So we want people to say, yes, manual data entry is ruining my sales team, or whatever the problem might be. It should feel like a mirror. You are not going to get buy-in on your solution until people agree that they have the problem that you are trying to solve. Okay. Solution first just is one of the most glaring mistakes I think I can see within just a few minutes. And after this call, all of you guys are going to be able to see that too. So a couple of things. We want people to see the mirror. The mirror is when people say, yes, that's me. That is my problem. That's the mirror. Okay. So how do you make that mirror, right? We talked about it's problem first, but one, lead with a real problem that you didn't invent. This is the biggest mistake people make when they try to go from solution first positioning to problem first. Is they're like, well, what fits within this AI powered lead generator, blah, 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 blah. And then they invent some problem, right? So the best way to do this is, I'm sure you have recordings of different sales calls that you've been on. Download all those transcripts, put them into one big file, or just put those files into ChatGPT, depending on how many files you have, or any AI thing. What AI is amazing at is quantifying qualitative information. And they call a transcript, albeit there is quantitative information that we talk about, but it's pretty much just a 50-page PDF of words, which is inherently qualitative. Dump that in and try to extract a real problem from it that your customers are continually articulating to you. And finally, make it about them, not you. Talk about them. They do not care about, the only reason they care about you is if you can do something to help them, right? So make it about them. They're your customer. They are your to use a little hospitality analogy, they're your guest, right? So when you walk into a hotel, they're not like telling you how great their hotel is. They're just giving you towels and shit, right? And like giving you free breakfast and stuff. So, um, okay. So that's the mirror. This is another thing I say all the time. If you've been to the show before, you've probably heard me say this. Marketing is difficult because it is part art and part science. The earlier you are in this stage of growing your business, the more art it is than science. Inherently, we're not going to have a lot of data if we're early on. You need bold swings on big positions, compelling offers to try to move the needle. If your marketing messaging is not working, chances are minor tweaks in the way that you're articulating the same thing are not going to move the needle. Okay. And kind of related to this part art, part science thing, and especially in the beginning, it being more art, it's going to take so much time to allow a mountain of evidence to stack up before you make a decision. And it's just going to be so costly, and it's going to be wasteful from both a time and money perspective. So here's a great operating principle to follow. You want to move quickly. You want to take bold swings. You want to have a hypothesis, right? Your hypothesis is not just, okay, I think these people are going to be a fit for us. Your hypothesis is, who exactly is this message going to go to? What exact problem do we think is going to resonate with them? And then what are the expected results from these channels? Okay, so what we want to do is have a very clear hypothesis that covers those three sections. We want to run a very cheap test. I'll cover cheap tests and sort of reps in a minute. And we want to just be learning and iterating. We want a very tight loop of continuing to iterate on these things. Ultimately, when you start cracking the code, you're not going to crack the whole code at once. And by code, I mean this little section at the bottom: impressions, clicks, leads, calls, right? We may start getting impressions and clicks, but it might not immediately be leading to leads and calls. So that could be a sign that our top of funnel, our awareness level marketing is working. But once they take that next step, they're not compelled enough, they're not intrigued enough to actually talk to you, to try out your free product, to start a trial, to take a call, whatever that action might be. Okay, so what are these channels? I've kind of been like alluding to channels, right? In this, as I've been going through these slides, there's a very great framework that I follow. It's near and dear to my heart. Do I have the book on my shelf? I can't pick it out immediately. It's somewhere on there. The book is called Traction. It was written by Gabriel Weinberg. He is the guy who created DuckDuckGo. This is what it looks like. I'm going to drop the Amazon link into the chat here. The philosophy behind Traction is you have a big list of marketing channels. He breaks it out into 20. And you essentially want to evaluate those channels at even weight for the most part. Now, what I have here is a growth channel analysis. Okay. So this is built literally on that framework. Okay. I completely just took his framework and put it into an ocean board. Now, the interesting thing about this framework, this is the philosophy. You have three channels. You have your ignore column. This is everything that you're blatantly ignoring. If your CEO says, hey, Pete, why don't we try in-person events? I'm like, great, maybe. But right now we're experimenting with what's in the maybe column. And here's why. We score everything out. We have our ability to execute on it, cost, which affects the score negatively. Our half-life, impact, reach, that gives us a score. We also have a timeline. Okay. Now, if we were to take all of these channels, right, and we were to eliminate all of the ones that need long-term timelines in order to evaluate success, we eliminate all the ones that are super costly. We eliminate all the ones where we have to leave our desk to go execute, because that is costly from a time perspective. If we do all of that, we're basically left with like 4, maybe 5. Okay. We're left with search engine marketing, paid social, like Meta or LinkedIn. We're left with thought leadership or influencer marketing on LinkedIn. That could be something you as the influencer or you hiring other influencers. And then email. Email can be a newsletter. It could be one-to-one outreach. But these are all um, basically cheap, and you can run them from your desk and you can experiment quickly. And this is not to say, hey, those other channels won't work for you. I don't know if he's in the call, but I know for a fact that Andy Seth, who runs Apprentix, which is a B2B services company, has gotten to over a million ARR on his own by doing in-person events. So I do want to call out that there are outliers. He's also done other things, but and that's also not to say these channels won't work for you eventually. But for now, in general, those other channels are usually going to be too expensive or too slow to learn. In
But
Andy's
Pete,
case, yeah,
can we qualify? First of all, I want to shout out again to Andy Seth because he is a one man, $1 million shop. That's incredible. Second of all, he was treating these in person events as a lightweight, low cost experiment. Like he was going to local stuff and not spending huge coin. And like he was going to uh I forget what you called them, but like a professional organization meeting and just like talking to people, you know. And then that went well enough to where he like got a booth at a show and like did okay, you know. But the booth at the show is not the first thing that he did. So I just want to say like and he's selling to contractors. So it's like that's another really important distinction. Like your audience will determine which of these few things you allocate these low cost, lightweight experiments to. So yeah, I just wanted to add those two points.
no, that's perfect. A huge thing here is you need to figure out first, one, your specific ICP, which we just talked about. And then two, like, where are they? Like, are they going to answer emails? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on like are they using Facebook and Meta? Like, what does that look like? And he, yes, was running cheap, experiments in these in-person events, but he also knew all these people were congregating there. He was like, I know I can get conversations. So let me take a swing and see if I can like really talk to these people and sell them. And
Totally. And he was doing other stuff that wasn't working, that he stopped it.
yeah,
Right?
for
Like,
sure. For
um,
sure.
like
For
ads,
sure.
whatever. Ads were not a thing for him.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. 100%. So I think these are the ones to start with. And at the very least, you can understand if your message and your position is actually resonating with the person that you're targeting. It's a very easy and cheap way to do that. I'll show you how cheap in just a second. Um, okay. As I'm going through this, I'm like, man, maybe I should put a different order. Anyway, interactive lead magnets. This is a huge thing I'm doing with clients right now. So lead magnets, I think we all remember the ebook craze of, let's call it 2015, right? First of all, everyone had a lead magnet. Every lead magnet was an ebook. Somebody we work with, Kyle Williams, told me maybe 2 years ago, he was like, I have this huge philosophy that all lead magnets and all PDFs should be turned into microsites. So I've been very intrigued by that for a while. And now in the days of vibe coding and us actually able to launch like interactive apps, micro apps without needing a developer as just marketers, that world now exists for us. So a couple philosophies. One, give value before you ask for anything. The data you collect tells exactly what to say in your follow-up. Okay, so what are these lead magnets? There's a lot of different types. There's ROI calculators, different self-assessments, scorecards, benchmarks. My favorite, though, and the ones that work the best are things that showcase an actual workflow. So let me show you an example of that. This is one I'm about to launch with a client, Grizzle. Grizzle is a content production agency. And what's interesting, Grizzle's been around for a little while. They do video production, they do content production from like, blog posts, things like that. They were big into SEO, but that world's changing a bit, right? So they're trying to find, really capitalize on that next step of content production. And a workflow they discovered is in the world of AI overviews, AEO, GEO, whatever acronym ends up sticking, we're talking about being recommended and talked about by an AI in an AI overview. What they discovered is that if there is a hot keyword that you're trying to rank for, and you search that keyword and you look at the AI overview and there's no video there, that is an opportunity for you from a like a video production standpoint. And again, they're selling video production, so you see where this fits. Oh, everyone's is there? Yeah, you're right. Okay. Guys, we'll work on all the typos. I got it. This is still in production, but thank you. Yeah. No, but it is analyses because there's a bunch down here. I only have one, but anyway, okay. So what we found, like this is a very intriguing workflow because everyone's very interested in this AI SEO game. So what we built, or rather what MarketWork built for them, with, of course, their help, is this video GEO tool. So what it does is you can enter in your URL of a piece of content. I already have one loaded up, so we don't have to worry about that. It's going to tell you the opportunity and the likelihood of your video being included if you make a video on this topic in an AI overview. It's going to give you recommendations of different angles. It's going to actually give you a brief and a script of what you could talk about in this video. It's going to give you recommendations for thumbnail text, title options, different calls to action. And it's also going to show you like the different assets you would need to actually create this video. It's got some other things too that we're, kind of tightening up. But my broader point is there are endless ways that you can create value with lead magnets that do not require you giving away your product for free. Not everyone has the ability to do that based on the nature of their product or their service. So these interactive lead magnets that do something like showcasing a workflow and helping people act on that, an ROI calculator, a self-assessment, some sort of scorecard, a benchmark, are all good ways to deliver value before you ask for anything. All right. So let's get into, let me skip. Okay. I want to skip ahead a little bit. So we were talking about channels. Yes, this one should have come before the lead magnet slide. What are you going to do, So I'm very into validating messaging, very cheap, right? I don't like to spend a lot of money on this stuff, especially because I'm working with early stage B2B software and services companies, right? Bootstrapped. A lot of folks are bootstrapped. So we want to learn quickly. We want to learn very specific things, and we want to learn them without spending a lot of money. As an example, for most clients, I can validate you could validate a meta ad with something like $25. Like you can literally pop it on for $3 a day. Now, the only way you're going to learn is if you have a basis of comparison. So you would need to launch like 5 of these things. But still, we're talking about, okay, so now we're talking about $15 a day, right? Like we can run those for a week and pretty quickly you get enough statistical significance most of the time to make a decision and at least learn what ads you need to shut off. Okay. And then you can kind of keep reiterating from there. LinkedIn posts. This is LinkedIn. If you're posting, can be a little bit of a longer game, but I have a couple of clients who have a very specific software or service, or one and the other, who don't have a ton of followers, but they get really valuable conversation from LinkedIn, and they haven't been posting for that long. So a LinkedIn post, an hour, less than an hour, if you get really good with like iterating with AI and finding inspiration posts on LinkedIn. Google ads, usually small budget, tight keywords. You can find some good learnings, we'll say. And email. I mean, especially for email, like pick a really tight group of people. We talk about this a lot on this show. Pick like 50 people, like who you are dead on sure that they could use your product. They don't have to be the people you would find the most money, for or get the most revenue from, just like dead on fits. So if you are broad targeting, you will spend more and you will learn less. And we don't want that. We want to validate messaging, validate these channels in a very quick and inexpensive way. Okay. When the system is right and everything starts to kind of move smoothly and everything's working together, you'll get more qualified pipeline. You'll be able to launch campaigns faster. Your message will be more cohesive across the board. You'll really decrease your random experimenting, which is costly and distracting. Your results will start to compound and kind of work together. And your founders will usually have less of this ad hoc effort that they need to be a part of. So, basically, the idea is to go from scattered to compounding. So before, maybe you don't really have many inbound demos per month. We've been able to boost that. One example was, 0 inbound demos per month to about 12 qualified meetings a month, which is great. And yeah, basically before they were speaking to features, not buyer pain. There was no system, and the founder was doing everything. So what we did, we rebuilt positioning around a single ICP. We launched a 3-channel engine. We had all the messaging be consistent. Those 3 channels were email, Meta, SEM, Google Ads. And yeah, and this also works for services firms too, because we're running into the same exact problems. To be completely frank, when I started MarketWork or soft launched this, I thought services would not be a part of my offering. Lo and behold, they deal with like literally the same problems as the B2B software people. So it's been a delight to see that and kind of work with different people. What makes us different? We, whatever. Someone called me out for that earlier. I appreciate that. Message strategy, cross-channel cohesion. We increase your speed to output. We make sure we're iterating with discipline and have a real hypothesis before we launch experiments. We're usually leveraging the founder if we can, and creating that compounding effect where everything is working together. It's one wind into the sails of multiple channels. Okay. And some common questions. Do you execute or just advise? Both. Again, this is like 7 months old. I'm not sure where this falls in the world of agency versus consultancy. Right now, we can think of it as a hands-on consultancy. Does this work if you already have a team? Absolutely. I do work with marketing teams. I have different packages. If you want just more consulting, that is an option. If you want more hands-on, that is an option too. Obviously, more hands-on means more of my time, which means a slightly higher cost. But, and then what if you need to do all this stuff all at once? Sure. What we do is we always start with messaging. Then we dive into content, ads. Let's just call it creative because it really depends on what mix you're looking to go for. But messaging is always first. If you are interested at all to talk to me, you can book a strategy call with me. You can just scan this QR code. It'll go right to my Calendly link. And let me just pop my Calendly link also into the chat here. I would love to talk to anyone, even if you're like, I don't know if I need to, need another consultant and you just want to chat with me. I'm happy to chat. As many of the guests here know, my calendar is open for all Unfuck My Startup guests. And finally, more tactics won't fix a broken system. Make your marketing work by making it work together, folks. That's what I'm working on. So I'll stop sharing my screen. I'm trying to think if there's anything I didn't get to. Oh, we talked about vibe coding. I did vibe code this whole site. It's kind of got some cool animations and stuff. So if you're like curious about vibe coding, I'm a big V0 guy. I also recently started building a full stack app, which I'm using Claude Code for. That's been really cool. But folks, there's a lot you can do just from your desk as a non-developer to do all of these really cool things. So that's what I'm working on. I could show the Market Lab a little overview. It's not ready yet. Maybe that's maybe that's a 6-month down the line thing. But yeah, let me see if there's any questions from the audience here. Someone said you're manifesting your future team. I love that. Thank you, Ashley. I hope so. Do Meta ads work for B2B products? Maybe as compared to LinkedIn. Yeah, they do. I mean, most people on Facebook and Instagram have a job. And you can also use meta targeting to target specific roles, specific types of employers, departments. So you can still do that B2B title targeting through Meta. Meta did just change their whole ad platform last week. They're really trying to they want to do all the creative and messaging for you and audience selection. 10 years ago, I loved Meta ads or Facebook ads as we knew them. because of the level of customization you could dive into. So, for example, I could target people who downloaded a specific app or went to a specific website that was not my own, right? And over time, they've stripped us of those manual decisions that we can make, and they said, we're going to make those decisions for you. And my God, are they continuing to double down on that? So if you have not hopped into the Meta Ads platform in a few weeks, you'll be interested in what you saw. Julia says, are you using Claude Code or Cowork? I use Claude Code, but Julia, I'm a noob on the Claude Code stuff. I'm a V0 guy through and through, but as I started building my first sort of full stack application, I hit some walls with V0. And now I'm using Claude. So I'm a newbie. I'm not great at it. I'm working on it. And for folks who are, curious, I guess, about vibe coding, because I know I talk about it quite a lot on this show, and like it is a huge part of what I do for market work. Just allows me to deliver like really great sets of things for people, whether it's these interactive lead magnets, which by the way, these all get hosted through Versal. I just have to hit publish. Like I don't need to know anything about deploying code to use V0. If I hop over here, you'll also see like different buyer's guide pages. This is one I made for a client recently. So this is like goes out along with their first email. It's kind of like a landing page. It doesn't render well in this view, but bear with me. It's also great for generating meta ad creative. So whenever we're launching a new campaign, I can show this really nice canvas without having to work with a designer before we launch these things. So it's basically like AI has really allowed this business to be what it is, and these were all just generated using quite a bit of AI, like combination of ChatGPT, V0, many edits, many variations, but inevitably it gets us good content out there. So Julie says everyone is a newbie. Cheers to that. Everyone is a newbie. We're just figuring it out. So that's market work, everybody. And I appreciate you sticking around to hear about it. But yeah, so I dropped my Calendly into the thing here. Is there any questions? Okay, and it doesn't have to be like about the business. It could just be about like anything we talked about, like positioning, channel experimentation, focus. The biggest red flag I see, because I know this was in the promo, so I want to cover this. The biggest red flag I see, or two biggest, really, one I already covered, which is the solution position versus the problem positioning on our front end messaging. But the second is like when I say, oh, like what channels are you running? Like what experiments have you run? They're like, well, we're doing a little bit of SEO. We're doing some Google ads, some meta ads. Mike's posting on LinkedIn a little bit. We're trying to get Allie to post on LinkedIn. And what else? Oh, we're going to start a newsletter. And I think Tom wants to start a podcast. It's just this like slew of random ad hoc experiments that after doing this for a little while, I can tell where it came from. It's just this bucket of suggestions that like flew down the line, and the marketer feels, or the team feels like they have to execute on it. That is why I love this framework so much, the traction framework, because you can literally buckle down on what you think is going to work, why you think it's going to work, with our best guess at quantifying, otherwise qualitative stuff, and dropping them into this content. This maybe column, our experimentation column. And like, you really shouldn't be experimenting with more than 2 channels per quarter. You should have really tight bounds of what means like deleting that channel, right? Ignoring it again. What validates it working, like tripling down on the amount of spend, time, energy, effort that you put into that, and what constitutes you extending that experiment. And you should define those before you even start. What are the most successful channels and tactics for market work? Oh, you mean for like me to acquire people? Honestly, it's LinkedIn and this show. Like it's, and this is, I have this big philosophy, Adam knows this, of like, try to find your maximum point of leverage and like literally just focus on that. So for me, I'm so fortunate to have an audience every week here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to spend these shows trying to promote myself, but this show gives me and my personal brand as Pete exposure. People are, always requesting to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm having conversations there. and naturally those leads flow in. So for me, I know that that's my maximum point of leverage. It does not make sense for me to try to build an email list or run meta ads for my consultancy or anything like that. So that's where that's where I really believe in focus and just tripling down on what's working. Most channels aren't going to work. Most experiments are going to fail. Like that's the reality. Okay. What are your thoughts on organically confirming content performance before paying for ads? That's a good question. Well, are we
So
talking LinkedIn? Are we talking Meta? Because like Meta, we can't organically post and validate. LinkedIn, if we're running ads, we've done this where for our B2B, we would take Adam's best performing posts and then pay to promote those. Ultimately, it's a really good way to see what type of content people are engaging with. So let's say in a world, Ashley just dropped in a couple of platforms. She said LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Let's imagine a world where your audience is very active on all three of those. What's great is what I would do is I would probably combine some LinkedIn posting and some Instagram. Instagram is just meta ads, right? You just select to run them on Instagram. I would run a bunch of experiments for like $3 a day per ad. I would have maybe 5. And that's $15 a day. If you got $15 a day to spend on experimentation and you want to stack that on top of your organic content experimentation to see what messaging works, I would do both of those. TikTok, honestly, as a B2B guy, I'm less familiar with TikTok. I'm not even going to talk about it, but I know it works. I know a ton of businesses that have taken off specifically like D2C brands. I'm sure there's B2B ones too. It's not my domain. But so that's the honest answer. Gary Vee is big on being everywhere these days. Gary Vee is big on posting as much as he can everywhere that he can all the time. And I've got to say, it's worked for the guy. So like, who am I? He's got a guy who follows around with a camera all day. He's got the means to do it and it works. So, yeah, Gary Vee's big on staying relevant. I like that a lot. Actually, that's an interesting point too. Like, Adam, have you seen creators on LinkedIn who like achieve a certain amount of success and then they just kind of go quiet because like they don't really need, their hunger kind of fades? You ever seen that?
Um, I don't know about hunger. Um, I think there is this issue, which a lot of people experience, where there's a ceiling on the TAM for your content. So like my growth rate has slowed down at like 150,000. It's like not, but like, maybe to grow again, I need to write about something completely different, right?
Yeah.
Like what Chris Walker's doing. He was like, he got to
That's a good
150,000. Yeah, he got to 150,000 and he's like, I'm over marketing. I sold my agency. I'm going to start talking about basically mental health is like his new shtick, which
Important.
is important, a very different issue. And he's getting a lot of engagement because he's really good at the game. But, achieving success and then losing hunger, like, I don't know. Maybe it happens, but it doesn't strike me as like a big reason why people stop.
That's fair. I think what's more likely, and this is another like one of those theories from that book Traction. It's like one of his theories in that book is if you got a channel to work, it's not going to work forever. Or maybe it continues to work, but as you said, it sort of stalls out at a certain level. And maybe you're at a different level. Maybe your offering has changed or your ICP has broadened because you've gotten big enough. And maybe the effort and time and resources it takes to upkeep that channel is not worth it compared to what is working now. So in general, first of all, channels, virtually every experiment, not every, most experiments won't work. The ones that do, when they work, they're not going to work forever. And ones that failed in the past may work in the future. So it is a difficult game. It is all about writing your own playbook. It's all about cheap experimentation. It's all about getting the right messaging, going to the right person through the right medium. And that is what we're here to do. So with that, folks, I hope this was helpful. Like, I don't know, the reception in the comments seemed positive. I honestly had like a stress dream last night of getting completely roasted, like just eviscerated. Like, you fucking idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. But hey, I'm a stressed guy. I'm an anxious guy. What are you gonna do? Well, one more time, because this is the episode where I can really, really shill myself. If you'd like to book some time, even if you're like, I don't know if I want to work with this guy, but I do want to talk to him, book some time. Let's talk. Let's have a good time on there. And yeah, whatever it is, bring whatever you got to the meeting, and we'll jam. I love talking to people, talking to founders, and sharing what I know so far. So that's why we're here.
Pete, thank you very much. Incredibly insightful. Again, I apologize for being 17 minutes late. Just like totally was looking at the clocks on the ski lifts, thinking I had 45 minutes, and I did not. So yeah, and for everyone still here, next week, Patrick Spychaski, who sold his agency for 7 figures, is going to talk about how he built his clay agency to be sold from day one. And he's going to share his playbook on how he did that, which I'm very curious about. Even though I'm not going to start a clay agency, I just like to hear about the game.
I agree. I'm super intrigued by that episode, and maybe we'll have a good little clay. We'll throw in some little clay tidbits for us too. Patrick's great at all those. Hey, thank you all. Thanks for all the positive comments, all the support. It's just like so kind and really makes me feel good to have the support of this audience here. You guys have just been. I literally wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. I mean, honestly, like, you and just the community on LinkedIn and everybody. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and onwards we'll continue. So everybody, we'll see you next week.
Holler, everybody.